I want to bring in now VP for National Security and Foreign Policy for the Heritage Foundation, live for the show, James Carafano. James, good to see you. Thanks so much for coming on. Weigh in this for me. We're talking about China, this potential executive order, what it may have inside of it. And then Secretary of State Mike Pompeo saying, hey, banning TikTok, that may be considered. Your thoughts on all of that?
Well, if you think about it, the U.S. government does this all the time. A couple of years ago, for example, there was a case where we were importing grapes, I think it was from Argentina, and they were actually laced with cyanide. And, of course, the U.S. government said, well, that product's unsafe. We're not going to allow that in the United States. So I don't think it's beyond the pale that they would outlaw technologies which are a threat to the privacy and security of American consumers.
Peter Navarro was on Fox News last night to talk about the executive order that we're three of us are discussing here, or four of us rather, reiterating that China will be held accountable. Here's that.
The trade deal remains intact, according to Ambassador Lighthizer and Secretary Mnuchin. We're watching very, very carefully to see whether they fulfill the items there. And there will be a series of actions taken over the next several weeks that will hold China accountable for the damage that it's doing to the American people. And don't forget, even as we speak, they're waging information warfare against this country.
James, you've got this line you've got to walk because you still have the trade deal intact, but then you've got to, again, hold them accountable, as Navarro was saying there, but then talking again about bringing manufacturing back from overseas back into America. How does all of this affect the long-term relationship with China as we try to continue to move forward, but, again, keep them out of, Huawei, as we talked about, and TikTok and other things? James.
Well, this actually gets to two great strengths of the U.S. strategy. The one is the old strategy was let's not antagonize China. Let's try to find ways to cooperate. And all that really did was essentially give the Chinese license to lie, cheat, and steal, and everything else. So we flipped that strategy on the head and says, no, rather than avoiding areas where we have conflicts with China, let's specifically target those so the Chinese see where their interests are bumping against ours, and let's force them to stop. The other thing that the administration was started on is this thing called linkage, which is, look, you help me out, I'll help you out. You give us a better deal, help us out with the North Koreans, we'll give you a better trade deal. The U.S. hasn't done that. Essentially, they've kept everything in its own lane, whether it's technology or economics or national security, whatever, and said, look, we're not going to get tied in knots negotiating with you. Where we have a specific problem, we're going to take a specific action. I think that is really the key to moving this forward. I think the Chinese will follow through in the trade deal. One, because they actually need these products and they need to buy them. Two is I don't want to think that they want to give Trump more ammunition to go after them. And three is I think they would, if they fail to follow through, it shows that their economy is weak. So I think the president's smart to let the trade deal run its course, but not worry about that. If there are other things that they have problems with the Chinese, whether it's Hong Kong or TikTok, confront them on that and let each issue stand on its own merits.
I got to go. That is Scott Walker, Ted Harvey. You guys stay with us. James Carafano, thank you for your time, sir. Good to see you.
Thank you.